Production of Kansas City Week in Review is made possible through the generous support of Dave and Jamie Cummings, Smithfield Foods, Haas and Wilkerson Insurance, and by viewers like you. Thank you.
Coming up, school may be out, but the new Kansas City school superintendent has just arrived and he's on the job, making a big announcement of free pre-K for district kids. And he insists there's more to come. He joins us this half hour. Plus, are the mayor and city council not playing nice? Today, a closed-door retreat to work on relationship building. We take a closer look at what's working and what's not. Plus, it's less than a month now before primary election day in our bi-state. A look at the most interesting races and eye-popping campaign strategies being used to capture your attention. Welcome everyone, I'm Nick Haynes. Our reporter roundtable straight ahead, but first, Kansas schools have been dominating the news over the last few months in the metro. Now Kansas City schools are getting some attention now that there's a new leader in town, and he's already making a splash by announcing free pre-K for district students. A new report from the Center for American Progress finds that by the time a low-income child enters kindergarten in America, they're already woefully lagging their more advantaged peers, 11 months behind in math, 13 months behind in reading, a gap that only widens as the years go by. Dr. Mark Bedell wants to change that. He's just arrived from Baltimore, where he was assistant superintendent of schools. Welcome to Kansas City Week in Review, and welcome to Kansas City. But of all the things you could change, all the things you could push in your first few weeks on the job, why free pre-K, Dr. Bedell?
Free pre-K it's critical for me. Many of you may remember when I interviewed during my third interview at Paseo, and I raised this comment that if money was not a variable, that I would love to start educating kids at the age of 2. I just truly believe that if we give our kids an opportunity to be educated during pre-K 3, pre-K 4, they do come into the school system on par to really experience a rigorous tracking as far as education is concerned. And as you've just stated, when they don't have that exposure, in many cases, they're already a year behind in reading and math.
Well, we did a special last year where we brought in all of these education experts, including the superintendents of over on the Kansas side, including Cynthia Lane of the Kansas City, Kansas School District, and said, hey, we'd love to provide free pre-K, but it costs too much money. We can't afford that. How is the Kansas City, Missouri School District able to afford this?
Well, several reasons. One, if you think about what's been happening in the Kansas City public school system, we've made progress. We've made some strides. We've moved to a provisional accreditation. And what's happening as a result is that we're receiving some additional funds from the state. We've received some additional grants. We've done a fine job of balancing our budget, and we've looked to reallocate resources so that we do have the ability to provide tuition-free pre-K for our parents.
You say reallocating. Does that mean there's some things you're not doing now that you were before to be able to pay for this?
Well, I think we look at staffing. We look at how do we maximize our buying power with some of our programs. If we have positions that at this point we feel like we can do without, those are things where you can eventually save money. And then my goal as a superintendent is to come in and just to ensure that any way that we can save money, how do we push that money back into schools? How do we help our families, to be able to have this opportunity to put their kids into school and give them an earlier start and an advantage?
And you're going to start this next month when schools return. Is this for all children who are pre-K or just a certain number?
So at this point, we have enough funding to be able to provide at least 1,100 seats tuition free. And, as a school system, it's very difficult. It's very costly to say this will be unlimited, but our goal is we have to start somewhere. So let's start with 1,100 seats. We have the funding to do that. And as we continue to pursue more opportunities and receive more funding and write more grants, our goal would be eventually we would love to be able to have every eligible kid that's eligible to take pre-K 3 and pre-K 4 to come tuition free into our school system.
You came here from Baltimore, where you're the assistant superintendent of schools. Did you raise at least one eyebrow, if not two eyebrows, thinking about the reputation that you might have read about the Kansas City, Missouri School District? There has been one superintendent after another over a very short period of time. The state had even tried to take over the school district. Did that make you feel cautious about wanting to come here?
I will tell you that I've worked in some very big school systems. And when you think about the number of schools that we have here in the Kansas City Public Schools, we may have the exact number, or if not more, of some of our schools that are in the same scenarios that we face here in the Kansas City Public School system. I've been fortunate because in many cases I've had an opportunity to work with those schools, whether it was as a teacher or as a principal or even as a supervisor. And I know that there are just unique things that we have to do in order to really add value to pull those schools up. I believe that my skill set has prepared me for a Kansas City public school system. My personal background has prepared me for this opportunity. So I come here knowing how difficult the job is as an urban school superintendent, but I don't have any fear. My job is to come in here and do what I know has worked, to work with this community, to work with our students, and to really be as authentic as I can possibly be. I'm a man of integrity.
When you came here for the interview, we had reporters around this table then talk about the candidates. And we had longtime reporters say they'd never seen a candidate come in for a superintendent job in Kansas City, Missouri, who received a standing ovation from those in attendance because of the way you spoke. So you were viewed as very charismatic, smart, intelligent man. But the rap was, you're not going to stick around.
So my response to that is, and that's been pretty much the number one question other than obtaining full accreditation, I moved my family here. I'm the first superintendent in years to put his 3 children into this school system. My wife and I, we're house hunting. I don't want to interrupt the education of my kids. I have a kid going into kindergarten, I have a kid going into the 8th grade, a kid going into the 9th grade. I truly understand what happens when there's a constant change at the top. I understand that systems break down, a new superintendent comes in, everybody's constantly starting over. And what I know in an urban school system like Kansas City is that we have to ensure that there's some stability, some consistency, especially in the lives of our kids, where a lot of things outside of the schoolhouse are inconsistent. So my goal is to be here to give the same education that I expect for my 3 children, to make sure that that's provided for the other 15,000 students in this school system.
Dr. Mark Bedell is the new superintendent of schools in the Kansas City, Missouri School District. Thank you so much for being with us. Up next, our reporter roundtable. You're watching Kansas City Week in Review. Dissecting the rest of the week's news from the Kansas City Star, City Hall reporter Lynn Horsley and business and development writer Steve Ockrott and political reporter, columnist and blogger Dave Helling. The Kansas City Council has scheduled a closed-door retreat today, Friday, at Union Station to work on team building and interpersonal relationships. Some council members said they didn't see why the exercise needed to be done in private, but the full-day retreat went ahead despite those objections and the price tag of $8,000 with $300 allocated for lunch. What's behind though this private team building session? Is it tension over the airport, tension over funding at 18th and Vine, tension over tax giveaways, or something else, Lynn Horsley?
Well, first of all, this council has been in office now for about a year, and they had a very initial get-together when they first took office, and it was a little bit tense. It didn't go that well. It was in open session, and I think the feeling was, Alicia Kennedy asked for this. She's a councilwoman. She felt like it wasn't a bad catalyst for this. There wasn't a negative outburst or fight or problem. But after a year, she felt like they could benefit from just some relationship building. And they've hired a facilitator to do that. Now, why have it in closed session? They are allowed to. There is an exception in the Sunshine Law. as long as they don't talk about city business, which is kind of
So
hard.
you're not miffed that you can't stick your reporter notebook in there at Union Station today?
I have a hard time imagining they can really have a productive conversation without talking about city business, but the city attorney said he will be in there and he'll make sure that if they actually start talking about substantive issues, that he will shut down that part of the conversation. But anyway, I think they feel like they can be more candid and maybe more productive and less political posturing if the media is not watching.
So they're not pinching each other and elbowing each other behind the scenes, Steve?
I don't know if it's pinching and elbowing, but I mean, it's a different dynamic in this city council than we saw in the previous 4 years. You know, coming out of the recession and coming out of a administration during the Mark Funkhauser years, it was very divided. There was an image put forth in the first 4 years of Sly James's administration. It was kind of a more harmonious city council. And this one's different. I think people who've been elected see some of the priorities from the previous 4 years as being a little bit out of balance with what their priorities are or what they think their constituents' priorities are. And you also have to remember that there is, you know, Sly James is termed out, so you're going to have people in the city council very likely jockeying for political power. And some may see it to their advantage to be on the opposite side of the administration on certain issues. And I think that's sort of the dynamic that's at play and some of what they're trying to work out, perhaps.
But the mayor has certain ideas about, for instance, wanting the airport, then that was removed from the ballot. For instance, we knew that. We have some contention over the 18th and Vine Jazz District and whether to spend more than $20 million on improving that. That's sort of not happened, even though there's a big push for that. We have tension over tax giveaways in Kansas City and whether there should be an effort to reform those. None of that has happened either.
Right.
Dave.
18th and Vine, tax reform have been on the agenda at 12th and Oak for about 40 years. So I'm not sure one retreat will solve it. And by the way, retreats like this are not uncommon. Other councils have done it. Other elected bodies have gotten together to see if there are personal relationships that can be built that will make decision-making easier. But the Kansas City Council has always been a consensus body, as long as I've covered it for 25 years, in which everyone likes 13-0 votes. The idea of voting 7-6 on things is really distasteful for a lot of council members. And so the way you get past that problem is you vote for me and I'll vote for you. And we'll all be happy and we'll pass a lot of things unanimously. This council seems less enamored of that approach. They seem more, members seem more attracted to the idea of, if I don't like this, I'm not going to vote just to get along with my colleagues. I'm going to vote no or try to change it. I think that's behind 18th and Vine. I think that's behind some of the other problems. You know, Northland council members see the world differently than those south of the river. So I'm not sure a retreat will solve that, but we are looking at a different governance model. And by the way, a mayor who's not prone to back down either. I mean, his own approach is pretty aggressive and fairly self-centered. So all of that is a recipe for some political dysfunction, and I think that's what's being reflected.
Now, while we in the media often look for problems, there have been victories. City Hall announcing this week that 2 months into the new streetcar line, ridership is averaging more than 6,000 a day. That's more than double the original projections of 2,700 passengers a day. And in addition, we haven't been hearing about crime and vandalism and vagrants on the streetcar. That's a positive, right, Lynn?
It seems to be going well, and in fact, I've heard that the dynamic on the streetcar is really unusual. You have low-income people, you have affluent people, you have young and old and kids and seniors, and just because they are all standing on this streetcar, they're not sitting in a bus all facing forward, they strike up conversations. And it is an interesting exercise in democracy and community that doesn't happen all that often in this city.
And ticking off some more boxes in the positive column, it just seems like every week there's a new hotel opening downtown, and every week there's a new apartment complex or lofts opening in the downtown loop as well, Steve.
Right. I'll be writing about another project that's popping up, and you're seeing some of this even moving into you know, areas like the West Bottoms and even into the East Crossroads, areas that have been not stagnant but haven't been exactly hubs of activity. And so it is, you know, the activity is spreading, and you know, I think most would see that as a positive sign for downtown.
Now, if you've turned on the TV lately, you know from the barrage of campaign ads that we're coming up to an election. In less than a month, voters will be voting in primaries in Kansas and Missouri. The most interesting race so far, Dave Helling, is what?
Well, the most sort of down in the weeds race is the Republican primary for Attorney General in Missouri with Josh Hawley and Kurt Schaefer, two Republicans who have literally eviscerated one another on TV ads and threats of lawsuits and press releases. Hawley, of course, the law professor without prior experience, Schaefer, a state senator. But I'm not sure it's that interesting because it's the charges and countercharges are so obscure and so unrelated really to whether or not these people are qualified to be Attorney General. I think we need to keep our eye on the Missouri Republican governor's primary. I'm going to take part in a debate next week in St. Louis. I believe that people are starting to really focus on that race about a month out, and there are 4 qualified candidates. That could get pretty intense before all.
How about in the category, the most surprising development as we head to primary election day, Steve?
I don't know how surprising it is. Yesterday, though, Jeff Melcher tweeted out, he's a senator in Kansas, represents Leawood, Overland Park type area, and he tweeted out a letter from Todd White, who's the superintendent of Blue Valley School District, essentially saying, you know, thanks for working together and we'll look forward to working together in the next legislative session. I think some people saw that as the superintendent endorsing Melcher. And of course, Melcher and some others in the Johnson County delegation have been, you know, somewhat skeptical of this idea that the schools are losing a ton of money, or that, are the schools misspending their allocated money on things like, you know, lofty salaries for superintendents. And so that was a little bit of a surprise. And I think his race is going to be one of those races, you know, even the primary and the general election, that will be sort of a crucial view on, you know, how do folks in Johnson County view spending on education, K-12 education?
Can I just add quickly, Nick, that I live in Johnson County. The interest in those state legislative races is higher than I've ever seen headed up to the primary. Now, whether that, you know, changes the results or adds to turnout, we won't know until August 2nd, of course. But it does seem more yard signs, more visits. I've had my door knocked on more than once, 6 weeks out. You'll see postcards, mailers, all the other stuff that goes with it. So I do think that people are paying attention to those races more than they have in past years. We'll see if that changes the outcome.
Postcards, mailers are so 20th century.
Yes.
What about the most impressive new campaign tactic of the season, Dave?
Well, you know, all the candidates, Nick, have learned that they can bypass mainstream media because there are fewer of us, but also because fewer people read what we write or watch what we put on television. And so social media and the use of social media to reach core supporters has exploded. And you can add to that a very sophisticated understanding among some campaigns of digital strategies, how to reach people quietly in their homes without raising the radar of reporters and others' opponents. We're entering into a new era of the way people campaign. That's why there's less visibility for races, and yet much more is going on below the radar. And again, we'll see on August 2nd how that
Could
turns
one
out.
of those campaign strategies be the ISIS hunting permits being offered to donors by Missouri gubernatorial hopeful Eric Greitens?
Here are those images of the bumper stickers. They read ISIS hunting permit 2016 and say it expires when, quote, we defeat this evil. They're popular, already sold out, and more orders are coming in.
We thought this would be a fun way to let people know both about my biography and about the fact that we all need to stand together against terrorism.
Oh, and they've already sold out, Steve Okra.
Right, and that's, you know, that's another of the latest of Eric Greitens' interesting campaign tactics. You know, of course, he had the ad that was somewhat infamous or famous, depending on how you look at it, where he had a rifle shooting at, I think it was a propane tank or something that exploded. And you know, we'll see how those campaign tactics persist through this election season as the gun and public safety issues come more into focus, given the events of the week.
It's alarming also members of the Muslim community in Missouri who have been speaking out about that this week. By the way, this week marked the end of the holy month of Ramadan, celebrated by Muslims around the world, and the estimated 25,000 Muslims living in our metro area. Our Common Grounds team joined with the KCPT Faith Initiative Beyond Belief this week at a break the fast meal at the home of Hibber and Ali Haider in Overland Park. Politics was definitely on the menu.
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد
Looking at the political scene in the United States, all these people who profess to be Christians but are hating on one group or another group doesn't make sense according to, you know, whatever text, scripture you use, or whatever faith. It doesn't make sense.
I think some of the dissension that we see is because even in religion and everything within our society, it's because people don't really know each other well enough.
That's right.
You're teaching them, so we're teaching them all these layers about this is a different color, this is a different religion, your book to follow, or your God's name is this, and so we are the ones creating those boundaries, so why can't we dissolve them?
I was talking about the immigration experience, and 100 years ago when the Europeans were coming, and it was the Jews from Eastern Europe and the Italians and the Irish, all the things that they say now about Muslims in terms of they can't assimilate and they don't share our values, all of those were exactly the same things they said about those people 100 years ago.
See more of that conversation on the Week in Review page at kcpt.org. Now, having just solved the school equity question in Kansas, the Kansas Supreme Court announces this week they're not going to give lawmakers much of a break. They have set September for oral arguments in another legal part of the case involving the adequacy of school funding. That's a month and a half before Election Day. How much does this issue play in state legislative races, or is this too complicated? Because it's head-scratchingly complicated math involved in a lot of these conversations, Dave.
Well, first of all, head-scratchingly complicated mathematics are a problem for me, okay, and for most of us. But as a factual matter, Nick, most Kansans get it that there is not as much money going to the schools as many people would like, and the court will determine whether they are meeting the constitutional standard of an adequate education. But the ruling is almost certainly not going to come before Election Day. They'll hear it on the 21st. It would be astonishing if they issue a ruling before the November elections, more likely in December, when you will have a new legislature, which will be faced with the prospect, assuming the court rules against the state, of having to come up with several $100 million more to adequately fund the schools. That will be the major political story in Kansas in 2017. So the setting of the date is important, but I don't think anyone that I know expects an actual decision until after voters go to the polls.
Do you think it has an impact on those races in November, Steve?
I suspect it will be. I mean, we were just talking a little bit ago about, you know, the heightened interest in state legislative races, and I think given the protectionism among some of the electorate over K-12 education, they see that as one of the paramount reasons for their interest in politics, and it's one of the paramount reasons for the existence of Johnson County as it is today. I think they'll probably be taking a keen interest in this issue.
Now, with so many tense issues in the news, it's enough to make some people turn to drink. Literally, signatures have now been collected to put liquor on the Kansas City ballot in November. We've been accustomed to hearing about smoking restrictions and even easing up on marijuana laws. But why are Kansas City, Missouri voters being asked in this presidential election year to weigh up the merits of alcohol?
Well, first of all, right now we have a very low threshold for petitions in Kansas City, Missouri. The charter allows people to petition their government to put things on the ballot, and we have a very low threshold. So a lot of things are being challenged, and it's kind of government and democracy by petition. There was a concern about the proliferation of liquor establishments in the crossroads, and there's a regulation that says how many people need to consent to a new business. And I think the city council had adopted an ordinance that changed that consent rule. And there are some people that feel like that's going to be too lenient, that's going to allow for this proliferation, so they're trying to roll back the consents.
So this is a little bit more complicated than just on the merits of alcohol here. So what does a yes vote do on this then, Steve?
So the voters essentially, so this ordinance got passed, and there's particularly some large property owners in the crossroads. The Plaza is opposed to this as well. Kansas City Life Insurance Company is opposed to this. So they're being asked they will be asked, if it goes onto the ballot, they'll be asked to reverse this ordinance that got passed last April.
Okay. And so I mean, does this belong on the ballot, do you think, Dave Helling? I mean,
well,
this
I was telling Steve the other day.
minor issue.
I was well. It isn't a minor issue. It's a reflection of competing visions of what downtown and other shopping districts can be, and whether or not liquor licenses should be ubiquitous or more restricted based on the needs and wants of people who live in the neighborhood. That's what the whole dispute is about, and that's an important dispute, not just downtown, but across the entire city. Having said that, I told Steve the other day, how can the council put this on the November ballot and not put Clay Chastain's measure on the ballot?
Well, I will say that probably is going to happen. That was introduced this week, was Clay Chastain's ballot language
on light rail.
It's a huge light rail, and the council still has to vote to put it on, but it's at least on their agenda.
And so the important thing to keep in mind, Nick, is what Lynn said is so important to know. We are really in an era of government by petition now in Kansas City. On anything controversial, the public has a right to go out and force a vote, getting just a minuscule number of signatures. That's not just true on liquor and light rail, but a bunch of other issues, and that's going to continue. Maybe that'll come up in the retreat that the council members are having.
Well,
today.
and it can lead to a paralysis of government. If every decision by your elected officials gets second guessed or challenged by citizens, and you're going to have a ballot that's a mile long,
yes,
and it's a lot for the voters to absorb.
Why I say it's a minor issue, I think, why is this something that has to go to the ballot at all? Why isn't this something that the city council can just resolve?
Only because there's a petition process, and because it doesn't seem as if compromise is possible on these concerns.
No, particularly not where in the crossroads where this whole thing's been concentrated. I mean, basically, what the law is now is if you want to apply for a liquor establishment or a liquor license, you have to get the approval of a majority of parcel owners that are within 250 feet of you. So let's say you have 10 parcels around you. If one property owner owns 6 of those, then they effectively have veto power over what you're doing. The council passed an ordinance that would limit those votes to 10% from one property owner. And so,
those property owners are trying to overturn that through the petition process.
Right, exactly, because they feel like it hurts their property rights. And this liquor consents issue was sort of more crafted around the thought of, if a bar is going to go up near a bunch of houses in the neighborhood, people should have a say over, should it close at 3 o'clock? Should it close at 1 o'clock?
Okay, and I need an extra cup of tea after that.
Okay.
That is our weekend review. Our thanks to the stars, Lynn Horsley and Steve Vockrodt and Dave Helling, who is fleeing the coop to cover the convention. Safe travels, Dave.
You bet.
I'm Nick Haynes from all of us here at KCPT. Thanks for spending part of your weekend with us.